Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
The annual Bard to Broadway Summer Theater Series is now underway in Qualicum Beach, and today we're going to have a conversation with this woman here. Her name is Alice on stage. She's 50-something and going through a relationship crisis. It's Sexy Laundry today on Go. On today's show, paddleboarding, a growing summer sport, tracking the gnomes, and the lucrative lives of politicians. That and more today on Go. Today on Go Island, we are talking Sexy Laundry. That's one of 3 plays in rep at Bard to Broadway this summer. It all plays out of the Village Theater in Qualicum Beach. I happened to catch Sexy Laundry earlier last week. A lot of fun, a lot of stuff to relate to, and we're going to talk about that later on this edition of Go Island. But first, the summer sport of paddleboarding is gaining popularity on Vancouver Island. Rayanne LaPlante checks it out.
I'm sitting in a coffee shop. I'm wearing a black leather skirt, black leather boots, a silky white blouse, no bra. I'm a size 6. What the hell? It's my fantasy. I'm a 4. I order coffee from a very handsome Italian waiter. He brings me the coffee and puts his hand on my shoulder. He whispers, "You are so beautiful." But he says it in Italian. "You are so beautiful." As he puts the coffee down, I catch the eye of a man watching me. I turn away. The man approaches my table and sits down. I pretend not to see him. Then I feel a hand on my thigh. I look up and see the waiter putting the close sign on the door.
And the rest you can leave to your imagination, absolutely. This is Rosalie Sullivan. She plays Alice in Bard to Broadway's Sexy Laundry. Who is Alice and what's happening in this particular scene?
Alice is a 50-something-year-old woman who's been married to the same man, Henry, for 25 years, and she's a typical wife. It's a typical marriage. It started to go a little stale. There's not enough spice. There's not enough spark or sex, and so Alice decides to plan a spicy weekend away in a hotel to try to put a little spark back in the marriage.
Watching the play at the Village Theater in Qualicum Beach, there's such commonality in the writing. Michelle Rimmel, the playwright, has captured the essence of a man and the essence of a woman and how they conflict sometimes in a relationship. And it's a very brave thing for you to do because at one point you're traipsing around the stage in lingerie with a whip.
Yes, that's interesting.
How does it feel for you on stage? Is it as scary?
It was scary as Rosalie thinking about doing it, but once I'm out there as Alice, it's like everything's on the line for Alice, at that moment. And so she's willing to do whatever it takes to see if she can, kick things back into high gear again. So,
What does the script give you as an actress to work with and maybe manipulate and put your own voice?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. It's such a lovely script. Michelle Rimmel is a Vancouver woman, and she's just written a play that's such a hit. It's been performed all over the world now, and it's just filled with comedy. When I read the script, I laughed out loud the whole way through when I was reading it. But underneath it all are layers and layers of the intricacies of any kind of relationship. Whether you're in a marriage or you're just living together or whether you're gay or straight, everyone in the audience can recognize something of themselves.
Pretty much as soon as the honeymoon phase is over, you've probably experienced some of this that you're seeing on stage.
And people love to laugh at themselves. And that's when I was reading it, I was laughing at myself. I've been there before too. And we worked with a fabulous professional director, Norman Browning, and he spent weeks layering underneath the comedy so that we could be a real couple on stage. And then we worked on the comedy, and Eric Fraser-Gow, who's in Vancouver now in theater school, mentored with Norman Browning, and he threw in all sorts of his comedic expertise. I mean, we had a wonderful time working together. It was wonderful. It's such a great show to be a part of. And I love Alice. I love Henry. They're great folks.
And I think by the end of the play, the audience loves the couple as well. And it starts out grabbing your attention. I almost gave it away and was going to tell you the opening scene, but right away you're kind of in your seat going, oh, okay, what are we going to see here? And if you want to know more, you're going to have to see the play yourself. We'll be back with more on this edition of Go Island with more insight into this year's Bard to Broadway offerings. Still ahead today on Go Island, tracking gnomes on our local trails, are politicians overpaid and underworked, and David Lenham's top 10 picks. That's still to come today on Go. Today on Go Island, we're talking Bard to Broadway's Summer Theater. It is now running at the Village Theater in Qualicum Beach. There are 3 shows in rep. We're getting scene excerpts from Sexy Laundry today, but also in the lineup, we have The Drowsy Chaperone and Little Women. We'll talk a bit more about those later on this edition of Go Island. And speaking of little things, Annette Lucas is on the trail of some little gnomes around Nanaimo. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Laurel Johansson is on the board of directors with Bard to Broadway's Summer Theater. I've always thought of it as a big success story. It used to be in a tent. It hasn't been in the tent for a few years for various reasons. Went to Parksville for a couple years. It's been back in Qualicum Beach at the Village Theater for 3 years. I went to a show on Monday night, Sexy Laundry. The house was packed. What do you attribute to all your success?
Well, I just have to say we're so community-based, and we have so much support from our community, not our sponsors, but also the people who are involved. And you know, it's a short history, but it's a really wonderful history. This is our 14th season, and we've had young people who've sort of come up with the theater, come from their dance background, their voice background. A musical is always a big part of Bard to Broadway. And I think it's the whole idea of the summer theater, the productions that are going to appeal to everyone, really. There's always a family
And the
show.
caliber is high, the quality is high. Always a family show, always something a little bit edgy as well. Sexy Laundry could be described as a little bit edgy. 20 people in Little Women? Or no, that's the Drowsy
That's a Drowsy Chaperone.
20, that
Yes,
is quite
yes.
an undertaking.
It certainly is, especially on that stage.
Yeah.
And there's an airplane. There's an aviatrix that comes in A Drowsy Chaperone. You got to go and see it. It's just quite the scene.
A real mix of people behind the scenes making it work. You mentioned briefly the younger kids, and because they're not in school in the summertime, and there's really a cross-generational collaboration.
It's fantastic.
happening.
It's really wonderful, and the growth that you see. I mean, it's so positive for these young people to be involved in theater, musical theater. Yeah, the growth that I've seen, and just the camaraderie, and backstage is terrific.
And it's oozing out to the front of the stage, to the front camera.
It certainly does. It does.
What about the audiences? I know the Oceanside area is big. People come with their family vacations. They spend extended periods of time here in the summertime. Is that your audience, or is it the locals?
Well, it's a mix of both.
Right.
We definitely have our raving fans who are always there for us, and we certainly appreciate them. But yes, it is a destination, a summer destination, Oceanside, and all the resorts, and we're definitely promoting, come out and see us. You want to come and have a good time and have some fun. Yeah, come on.
It feels great. The theater feels fabulous. You can feel the passion that everybody who is there working on a volunteer basis for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, as a member of the board of directors. We'll come back and talk more about Sexy Laundry. If you'd like more information on the full lineup of Bard to Broadway, you can visit the website b2btheater.com. We're going to throw things over now to Sean Leslie. This week in BC, are politicians overpaid and underworked? We're going to look at the lucrative lives in the legislature. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. This is Rosalie Sullivan playing Alice in Sexy Laundry. This is a scene where she's sharing a not so positive experience that she'd had at the gym with her husband Henry, who is played by David Bigelow. David can't be here today because he is the stage manager for La Belle Soeur that is now competing at a Theatre Zone festival in the interior. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Barger Broadway Theatre is in full swing in Qualicum Beach. It runs through until August the 17th. We'll be back with a few more details on that, but first it's time for David Lenham's Top 10. I wonder if there's a top 10 list in here somewhere for, well, maybe I should just stop there. This is a prop in Sexy Laundry, one of 3 shows running in rep at Barge Broadway Summer Theatre this year. You can get full details at www.b2btheatre.com. That brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. Speaking of top 10 lists, you should add Barge Broadway to your summer entertainment list. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.